Take two. Hi guys, it's Amber, and today I have my cousin
Brandon.
here with me. We're going to talk to you guys about our own personal experiences with paranormal or just rather odd things, I guess, in the Yukon.
Spooky experiences.
Yeah, there's pretty much no shortage up here of random, creepy, unexplainable things that have either been widely announced to the world or are just well known to
To the locals.
the locals. The one that I think everybody knows about really is Sasquatch being a really big one up here.
Aliens.
And aliens. There's been a lot of UFO sightings here. So, yeah.
I grew up here. Consider myself pretty outdoorsy. We're in the woods here. Pretty much everywhere you go. I always thought I had a fairly level head about myself. And then when I was about 14, 15, everything just kind of started to pop up, I guess you could say. You know, I was definitely like not a stranger to long walks in the woods with my dog and hiking on the different trails around town.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing in the Yukon with, like, the woods. There's so much of it that,
So
like...
much energy, too, depending where you go.
And it's all,
You know?
like... where we live is very much all traditional First Nations land. It's literally, like... I think there's 14
Overlapping, yeah.
14 overlapping
Territories.
First Nations territories in our territory. Because of that, it's just like swirling with energy of like all of these different tribes coming together and their meeting places, and they're very similar but yet different ways of approaching things. And so when you come in as like a person who is not used to that at all, then it kind of makes it for a different experience, for sure.
The way I explain it to people is like, we live in one of the last intact forests in the world, quite literally, living in the boreal. And because of that, the raw spirit of nature can still kind of, I guess, prevail here. A lot of it is just very primal, you know, and a lot of people will even tell you that when they're out hunting and fishing and doing other kinds of activities just out of cell service in the middle of nowhere, like, you do feel that kind of omnipresence around, you know. Some people might call it God, Mother Nature, but to me, I just call it spirit. It's just a lot of the energy. There's just that whole kind of like interweaving cycles of like the physical ecology and the spiritual ecology kind of all together.
Yeah.
And there's definitely pockets, and I call them also hot spots, I guess, in and around town that all the locals kind of know, like, don't go down this road at night, or if you do, you know, like, don't go alone. Obviously, you know, being the young teenagers we were, we'd still go out anyway and dabble around. And
I identify very solely as a witch. I identify as pagan as a whole. My family is also deep-rooted in Norway on my dad's side, so there's a lot of that old world gods and Scandinavian culture for me, which I've tried very hard in my life to bring back to my everyday living.
Yeah, I guess I was loosely raised a Catholic. My dad kind of was more or less forced into being raised fairly traditional, and then by the time he hit his adult years, he decided to say, you know, like, I'm not going to make religion forced down my kids' throats, you know, like, he put us through the Catholic school system, but I mean, up here, it's not the typical Catholic school where you wear, like, your nice clothes and everything, and you have to go to mass every day. It's still very much a public school, and it's fairly accepting, but once I hit probably 14, 15, I really started to question my relationship with God, and was coming into myself, I guess, and I've always had a kind of a passion for weird, spooky things and witchcraft and stuff, and started learning more about the First Nation spirituality here in town and the connections with land and spirit, and started going to the local craft fairs and found out about Wicca. Practiced as a Wiccan for about 4 or 5 years. Now I've kind of reverted back, I guess, to just an open spirituality. In university, I've taken a lot of world religion studies kind of courses, and I kind of pull and draw philosophies and concepts from different ones that kind of speak my truths, I guess. But I don't know. I'm kind of open to a bit of everything, and I think it kind of helps being like that, living up here too. Like, you kind of
So
need to be
much.
open to that kind of background, I guess. You know, like, so there's a lot of things that might push people's face up here.
So
you know?
much.
So,
So much.
it's a pretty open kind of scene, I guess, too, in terms of spirituality. I mean, a lot of people, they might practice as a Christian or Muslim or what have you, but a lot of them do have their own separate kind of spirituality on the side,
Yeah.
just because of where we live, you know. But,
And I think, too, up here with how much history there is, I mean, you've got the gold rush, you've got, like, all of these things that you have to take into account. I think that even if you're, like, the most deep-seated Catholic, Christian-based faith person in the world, and you don't believe in anything aside from your God and that kind of thing, you still believe in the afterlife. You still believe
There's
in
still
the
some
spirits.
kind of
You still
spirit.
believe in the energy.
Yeah.
We run a paranormal group for the Yukon on Facebook, and
links in the description below.
see, you got this. And it's all about the stories that people have experienced, and
From all walks of life.
from all
That's
walks
what
of
I like
life.
about the page, you know.
Whether you are Catholic, whether you are, you know,
In your 60s or you're a teenager, everybody has a story.
exactly,
You know, and everybody can kind of relate. Some of them are definitely creepier than others, and some of them are more mild, and, you know.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of it too, right? Like, I think that's the beauty of just having that ability to talk. You know, the energy is always going to be there, no matter what you believe in, and it's just a matter of whether or not you choose to investigate the energy
Or ignore it.
or ignore the fact that it even exists, really.
I like to refer to it as my third eye. Just my ability to kind of dabble into it, I guess, see and feel and hear. Mine's always been more of a sixth sense in terms of what I feel. I feel energy quite heavily, being empathetic.
And that's something we both share.
Yeah,
Like, we both...
being empaths, it's a lot of powerful energy. I walk into a room and I can kind of
Yeah.
feel it off of people.
Yeah, like,
You know?
we're both very empathetic people. We're both Pisces. We're born, like, 7 days apart.
Yeah, not even.
Not
that far.
not even. Something that both of us definitely have in common, like being able to sense the energy of a room.
And then you have people that are more on the clairvoyant side who just full on see, kind of like my cousin, a lot of apparitions. She's hiding in the backdrop there, but more apparitions and figures and full on people. Not that I haven't had a couple of those, but I mean, I'd much rather see the less physical stuff, I guess. But
Well, and I think, especially for me, I used to see everything all the time. There was a good long while from growing up really young to getting older that I saw full body apparitions. I saw people, heard them as if they were talking like you and I are talking all the time. And then around being 13, 14 years old, I got into a really heavy depression state. And just kind of shut everything off. I shut out all that world. I started ignoring everything. I didn't want anything to do with any of it. I, ignored things when they did pop up, unless they were, like, glaringly obvious in my face, like, you need to pay the fuck attention right now. Once you turn it off, it's harder to turn it back on. Like, I think
place plays into it too.
Yeah, like,
know?
it's been a really hard time for me over the last, like, 6 years of trying to reopen myself in a safer way.
Without flooding it all back in.
Without letting it all back in, like as a flood, but still allowing myself to be in a space where I can see these people again, hear these people again, help these people the way that they are coming to ask to be helped. Because I mean they're always there, whether I'm really aware of it or not.
It's the veil, I tell people,
Yeah.
Physics hasn't yet to prove this, by the way, but it is kind of talked about and hypothesized in science, like just the concept of time and stuff. Like there was a really good presentation I had when I was in high school, and in some First Nations cultures it's believed that there's like the earth sphere, and then you have like different levels of like heaven and hell spheres, and then the spirit world, and it's all like a web, I guess you could say. And like any of you that are into sci-fi, you can think of it that way, like it's just different veils, but there's so many things that are probably passing around us right now, and a lot of people will laugh and scoff at that, but I mean, I've definitely had experiences sitting in a room completely alone, and you like hear somebody go
Yeah.
or just get that rush of cold wind like blows through the room out of fucking nowhere, like
Yeah.
sitting there trying to watch your Netflix, and you're like, okay, something's here,
Sup?
like I don't know, like a lot of people up here I think are a bit more open to that because we are in such an active area, and solstice is one of the more active times, the summer and the winter. You would think the summer would be a little bit less because of all the daylight, but I find that's more fucked up, to be honest, because there's so much energy. We live north of 60 latitude wise, and we get about 20 hours of daylight come peak summer, and then the rest is ambient twilight, so we don't truly see darkness till the end of the summer.
Yeah.
So ghost hunting is definitely a big pastime up here for a lot of the youth, me included. Solstice night and like the 2 or 3 days before and after solstice is a very active time. I've seen full-on ghosts, if you're going to call them that I just thought were people standing on the trail before they fucking evaporate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think too, like even up here, I have lots of friends who don't really believe in anything, but the time around a full moon, they're always sketched out, whether they're superstitious or not. Mm-hmm. Like the day before, the day of, and the day after.
Those 3 days make a difference.
A huge thing. And like I work as a bartender, and those days, like if there's stuff going on, we always check our calendar to see if it's a full moon, because we're like, okay, this is just not normal for the bar that we work in. Like what is going on here? And sure enough, 99% of the time it lands because it's the 3 days of a full moon.
And the moon is a very powerful force, if you look at the force it has on water and the tides. And I explain to people, we're 70% water. Obviously, it's going to have some kind of a pull on us. Even the animals can kind of sense, if a storm is coming or if the moon is ripening, if you want to call it that, yeah, and just being in such a remote wilderness area too, there's just so much primal raw energy up here. I mean, that's where a lot of people draw their inspiration to practice old age and new age Wicca and just different kinds of herbal practices. We have nature's freaking grocery store in our backyard for any kind of herbs you could imagine, as long as you go out at the right time. But it's just the place for experimentation, I guess, and exploration of that kind of energy. I'm currently studying down in fairly rural Alberta, in between Edmonton and Calgary, and with all the fragmentation of the land and everything down there, you don't feel it as much. Definitely been to some creepy places. The house I'm renting right now is haunted for sure. There's a lady that lives there. That's another story, but I don't know, like even when I just get off the plane and I just come, like we all live in the woods here, like right across the house from me, and there's gorgeous trails, but I don't fuck with that anymore at night. I used to love sitting on the bench up overlooking the valley. I don't do it anymore because I've had too many weird things happen up there.
Yeah.
I was up there one night with a couple of friends. We're just chilling. We're teenagers. We're going to smoke our doobie and hang out. Not much to do in a small town. A lot of people are like, oh, well, you're just high or blah, blah, blah. Like, no, for those of you that have gotten high before, you don't trip balls unless it's some crazy shit. And we're just hanging out, and I hear giggling in, like, the bushes. And I'm like, what the hell? And I walk off the path, and when I look, there's, like, these little, it sounds crazy, but these little, like, black figures, like, how much bigger than my water bottle? And some of them have little, like, ears and crowns that are sticking out, and like there's a cluster of them, and I thought I was going insane until I grabbed my friend and she was like, holy shit, we should leave, like they're just running. like in between the moonlight in the paths and stuff, and my other friends thought we were crazy, but they left too because they could at least feel, like, okay, yeah, like if you're uncomfortable, like let's go. But that's just one example of just the little things, and in retrospect, probably weren't even that harmful, especially in a large group. But I mean, there's legends and stories of the fairies all across, the world, especially in more rural parts of North America and like northern latitude countries like Scandinavia. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very common entity that people deal with, and Whitehorse and Dawson City, a lot of Yukon towns are no exception to that. This girl,
What about
we've been
me?
through some weird shit when I was like just starting to dabble with a lot of this. We used to go on our ghost hunts. Megan's in the background, but we were the little trio that would go out. Yeah, there were some weird ones. I remember one night we went up. We have a lot of lakes within our city limits. Mind you, our city limits are the size of Calgary, but we have very, very low population. So it's very spread out, and it's very common for us to just go fart around for a drive and just
You burn a lot of gas here.
You do. You need a car if you really want to enjoy it. But we're just up Schwaka Lake Road, and there's a whole series of lakes on this road, and sometime in, I want to say winter, like probably February or something. I feel like it was winter.
Yeah, February, March, maybe.
Yeah, we're out for like a drive, and there's all these little pull-ins, these little day-use areas, and some of them are more shady than others, and I don't mean that physically. Like some areas I do not pull into to hang out, there's just patches of the forest that you just don't fuck with.
Full drag queen shade. Not like... Yeah.
But like, I remember we pulled in, that was when you had your old car. We pulled in.
I miss Sam.
And we like walked in this little truck because there was a bit of snow, and we're looking out and you can see kind of the city lights in the distance and the dam, and it was beautiful out. But like, Megan was on edge the whole time, and Amber was starting to get on edge too, and I'm just like, what's going on? Because I was very new to this, I was like excited. It's late. We're out doing stuff, I'm past my curfew, They were the bad influence, because they were older. As long as I was with them, I was allowed to do whatever. So like, we're going, and I remember I started to feel like kind of like this pull in my gut, and I shit you not, I like look down and I can see footprints forming in the snow. And next thing you know, I just remember them saying, just go, car. And we like get to the car, and the car isn't like starting. Like, literally like the worst thing you can imagine, right? Like, I know
It was
it
straight
always
out of
sounds,
a horror movie.
yeah,
Like...
it always sounds like, oh no, that's blah blah blah. No, like it literally felt like you're in like a horror movie, and the girls are like really freaked out, and it's freaking me out because they're so freaked out, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know what's going on. And then wasn't there like something standing in front of the car when the lights finally turned on?
When we finally turned them on, there was like a quick flash of something standing in front of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And it was there, and then it wasn't, and it was like, okay, let's drive, like high beams on the whole way back, like,
let's get off this road, go to the next one.
And there was a lot of that out by
North side.
Chadburn.
Fucking Chadburn.
And driving down, and
beautiful lake, but like,
beautiful lake in the day.
Yeah, don't mess with that
in the day.
Don't go there in the evening, and if you do, bring your amethyst and like some snacks or something. I don't know. Get anxious.
Yeah.
Very anxious there at night.
We were out at Chadburn, and we never get out of the car there at night. Never. We will drive out there, but that's it. Like, we will not get out of the car. We will not do anything.
We just go enjoy the view of the lake and the mountain more than anything.
Yeah. So we were out there, and we had turned around to drive back into town, and I remember freaking out because I could see something on the side of the road. And
I just get like tingles thinking of that.
And keep in mind, like, we are all very well versed in our animals. Like, we know what a bear looks like, we know what moose look like, we know what deer look like, elk, whatever, what have you, whatever would be there in that area, we've seen it hundreds of thousands of times. It's just not anything new to us. And this thing was off on the driver's hand side of the car, and it was like hunched over, but it looked like it was probably about 6 feet-ish tall. And I mean, again, one of those things, like, I don't know if you've seen that really creepy video of the old hag from Russia or whatever it is, where she's like hunched over and she's like running towards the guys. And
I
like,
hate that video. We should try and link that video. For any of you interested, fuck that. You're not going to sleep.
Put it over here somewhere.
Yeah, that'll be somewhere here.
Somewhere in
Click
this
here.
But it was like this thing standing there, and it literally was like towering tall, and it had like the fur hanging over its shoulders, and it had like the skull face, and it was like, it was a skull, and it had like broken antlers. Like, there wasn't even really anything coming out. Like, I think there was one and like
just, like, the
part of
branch
another
of it.
one, right? And like, I thought for sure, like, I was just seeing something, or somebody was out there like fucking with us and like playing tricks on us, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep driving, like, I'm just gonna speed past this thing, like, I'm not gonna say anything to anybody else in the car, and like, hopefully nobody else saw this, hopefully I'm just going crazy, and like, it's just something weird. And then we got past that area, and I remember looking in my rearview mirror after we passed it, and I could still see it standing, but it walked out into the middle of the road, and it faced us as we were driving away. And when
you're actually giving me chills.
And when we finally got to the end of the road, I was like, okay, how's everybody feeling? What's going on? And you looked at me and you were like, there was something on the road. Like,
yeah. I remember seeing, like, I don't know if we saw the same thing or if there's multiple things there, but like, with me, it almost looked like a ram skull, and instantly it felt really dark. Like, I don't know, like,
it was so dark.
It's an area, like, you're coming down this winding kind of gravel road, and the forest is fairly dense. It's a lot of, like, you know, spruce that is fairly, like, fallen in on itself. Like, the understory is quite dense, so it gives you that spooky vibe to begin with, even during the fucking day. And then you're driving, and, like, I just remember we passed an area, and you just see, like, I saw, like, a skull just, like, like, popped out, you know, and then when she explained to me what she had seen, it made more sense that, like, it was a figure, you know, like, wearing, like, a robe or some kind of animal fur or something, and that was, like, the mask?
Yeah.
I guess? Like, they were wearing, like, almost like a traditional, like, medicine man or just shaman.
Like that, it was very shamanistic.
That was that kind of look and the vibe you kind of got, too, but it was, I don't know. There's also been nights that we've been driving down that road, too, and I just blacked out.
Yeah.
You know, like, stone cold sober, just black out from, like, we talked earlier about energy.
Yeah.
Just too loaded, done.
Yeah.
Like, come to, like, we're on the other side of town. They're like, are you okay? Like, do we need to go to Tim's or something? Like, do we need a break? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that road is really bad. And I mean,
I can even look at that road. It's funny. Funny thing is, it is probably one of our busiest recreational trails in the summer. In terms of all the different things you can do up there. Like, there's a lot of lake accessibility, endless mountain biking, hiking, running, fishing.
like...
Lots of great photography spots. You know, that's the funny thing, too, is, like, it's very much day and night here. You know, like, it really depends where you are. At what time.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end off on for now. But yeah.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah, we really could. Let us know. Tell us your stories. If there's anything in this that you have related to, or anything you want to expand on, any questions you have, any videos you want to see, things that you want to see us talk about. I see Brandon very rarely. So when
I could even film little shit and send it up to her.
Yeah, or we might have to do like
do a Q&A
Skype
over
dates.
Skype or something.
But yeah, like, just let us know if you want us to see anything, if there's things that you want to hear about with our experiences, or if you want to hear like creepy stories about places that we've been, or anything that you...
Or do an overview of any of the concepts or mythologies that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
Mind you, this was unscripted, so it was just kind of like a... of everything.
But, I mean, as you can see, there's like books galore here. They literally
have their own library.
Yeah.
Like, there's shelves that just never end in here.
We have 500 books in this house. 90% of them are myth and mythology and lore and supernatural and UFOs and ghosts and whatever, what have you stuff. Witchcraft, demons, angels, everything. So
Just chilled.
let us know what you want to hear. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me so happy, especially being brand new to YouTube officially. I have many old videos that I don't even want to speak of on YouTube that may be deleted if I can remember how to get into the accounts. But yeah, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button, as I'm going to be doing a lot more of this stuff and taking you guys with me on an adventure of creepy.
A little tour would be nice too somewhere.
A little creepy, you know, we'll do some live vlogging and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and just make sure you subscribe.